What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another video. And today I'm interviewing Phoebe Hagan, IFBB Bikini Pro from the UK, and she shares her experiences on her recent protesting over the Black Lives Matter movement. So she shares if there's been rioting and all that sort of stuff. So it's really, really cool. And plus, she also lets us know of her experiences growing up as well, if she's experienced racism or not. Also, we go into her career as a bikini pro and how close she's been to making the Olympia the past 2 years and what she's planning to do in 2020 to try to get on that Olympia stage later in the year. So if you guys enjoy these style of interviews, please give me a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. But anyway, let's get to the video. Welcome back to Desktop Bodybuilding. I'm Xavier Wills and I'm joined today by IFBB Bikini Pro from the UK, Phoebe Hagan. Welcome to Desktop Bodybuilding.
Hiya, how are you doing?
I'm very, very well. And now the reason why I'm getting you on, you're actually, I think the first female that I've actually interviewed on Desktop Bodybuilding. I used to actually do a female radio show back in the day, several years ago, of RX Muscle Australia. But the reason I'm getting you on is because I've seen you doing all the protesting and things like that towards the Black Lives Matter. And I saw one of your photos and it was like really impactful. Like you're holding up the sign Black Lives Matter while you're actually doing that protest. Now, has that photo gone viral? Because I think I shared that out on my story as well.
I mean, it went pretty big, like not on big scale, but it went pretty big on my profile and stuff. And I was really happy with that. And I went obviously to the protest and I wasn't expecting to get a picture or anything like that. Like that's not what I was there for. And someone just sent it to me over Twitter and they were like, we've seen you on Twitter and this is a photo, we really want to share it with you. So I was like, wow, thank you. And it's such a nice moment because obviously for what we're standing up for, it's very important to have memories like that and to know that back in the day that we did kind of stand up for that type of thing. Do you know what I mean? So it would be nice to look back on like when I'm older and be like, this is what I did, kids.
Yeah, very, very cool. Now, what nationality, what's your heritage, I suppose?
So my dad is from Ghana, Accra. So he came over to the UK in, I think, the 70s. And then my mum is English, but she's half Italian. So I'm kind of like a mix of both.
Yeah, that's a cool mixture. I actually saw your dad on his birthday. You were putting up stories and stuff. He seems like the happiest dude ever.
He's on, like, it's so nice because he's just such a happy guy. Like there's nothing that will literally get him down like at all. And it's so nice to see that like in everyday life. And obviously when all of this is going on, he's like, I'm really proud of you for like sticking up for like what's right and like standing by that. So it's really nice to have him on my corner and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, moving obviously to the UK years ago, we know obviously racism in general, I think maybe has gotten better over the years, but it's still obviously not where we need it to be now. Obviously, the reason for the protests and everything. Did he experience a lot of racism coming to the UK or no?
Well, actually, if I'm honest, no, which is quite good from his part. And I put it on my story. That was one of the posts that I put on my story not that long ago. But he used to actually work not as a police officer, but for the police force. And he never had issues or anything like that with the police. But it was actually the public that would give him a load of kind of shouting at him when he was in the police cars and stuff like that, shouting horrible words at him and laughing at him and all that type of thing. And it wasn't actually the police that were doing it. It was the public, which I think is kind of worse, if I'm honest, if society wasn't kind of accepting him, but like law enforcement was, if that makes sense. Yeah. And yeah, I think the thing is in the UK, I think the UK is a bit more, obviously I can't talk for everyone, but I think the UK is a little bit more subtle with it. Whereas America is quite direct, or like other countries are quite direct with it when it comes to that type of thing. But no, luckily he didn't obviously experience it that much. He still got really good like housing, good job, all that type of thing, because I know that's the type of thing that people of color would get like held back for. But he was obviously lucky in that department. But he was one of the actually only black people in our town where we live in the UK at the time. So, but yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Now, with yourself, have you experienced anything through school or anything like that growing up? Because obviously you're very passionate about it. I believe, I don't know if you protested for a whole week straight, but I know you did a lot of, protesting, sorry. Sometimes in another video, I called it rioting instead of protesting, and I mucked up and I was like, oh. But,
gets it mixed up. So
yeah.
no, so it was only obviously the protests that go on, they're only like for a day. It's not like
Okay.
I know obviously in the US there's like one every day, so it's like you go to it every day, but obviously in the UK it's there was only one, I think, because all the protests were going on in America, and then people were like, I want to do protests obviously in different countries very quickly, and I actually just went to one on Saturday as well. And then, the one that I went to beforehand was about, I think, like a week and a half ago. But it was just a march, and the police were actually escorting us to clear the roads and everything like that, because they didn't want us to cause anything bad. And we weren't there to cause anything bad. We weren't there to cause like harm, violence, anything like that. Like, we didn't want that. And we were just there. We went to the police station and we were just kind of did loads of speeches and saying why we're here, what we're doing, what we want to change, all that type of thing. And it was very powerful, because for me, a person of color, like, I was waking up very, very frustrated and just wanting, obviously, things to change. And obviously change isn't going to come that quick. And it's hard seeing all of that go on. And I think it's hard for everyone, obviously, seeing all of that go on, that what happened to George Floyd, all that type of thing, and things just over and over happening the same and same. And obviously we want change, but how do we change it? Do you know what I mean? So you just want your voice to be heard.
Yeah, and we've seen protests before, obviously, with the things that have happened before, with police brutality against, black men and stuff. And it's been shocking, I've seen that sort of stuff, and it makes you feel sick to your stomach, some of those things you see, and especially the George Floyd thing, because there's so much video of it and all that sort of stuff. To think that his life actually ended then while someone's doing something like that, it's pretty sickening, and I understand why people are so passionate about it. But do you think because this one has been, I suppose, has got the most media attention worldwide, do you think this is actually going to be more of a catalyst for change than the situations in the past?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm no expert, like, at all. So, like, but from what I can see, I can already see so much change happening. Like, even in the UK, over in the UK, there's loads of monuments and statues and stuff, obviously representing people that we've obviously looked up to for a long time in the past and stuff, and they're actually being taken down because they have racial backgrounds, like, of racism. So there was one, I think Winston Churchill, there's a statue obviously that was up, and it's been taken down because of the history behind it. So, and there's loads of different statues in the UK with statues that have been taken down now because of the history behind it, because it was pretty much up there because of, like, racism and that type of thing. So it's very good because I can see change happening, which is nice to see. Obviously, from looking at it from the UK and not actually in the US, and I can see change happening in the UK and kind of all around the world. It's really, really nice to see that. And I think people are just becoming, like, for me, as a, like, just an influencer, as you want to call it, I put out there information that I want my followers to kind of educate themselves on and be like, look, you just need to be more educated. It's not like you have to learn every single day and think about it 24/7, but just, like, be aware. And everyone's just kind of like, thank you for educating. I didn't even kind of realize my own privilege or realize that it was even such a big issue, because I didn't, like, look at it in that way. And I think it's just making people more aware.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually remember watching a movie semi-recently, maybe a year or two ago, and I can't remember what it's called for the life of me. I'll probably put it up on the screen, but it was actually, it showed sort of almost like, it's very, I suppose, impactful to what's happening now as a kid. But I think he went to pull out something out of his top. He wasn't listening to the police officer, and he was, an African-American kid. And he went to pull something out of his jacket, and the police officer shot him, and he was pulling out something that wasn't a gun or anything like that. And it's, like, very, I suppose, it resonates a lot now to see what actually happens. And, the fact that African-American people in America are treated differently to how white people are by the law. And it's really sad to see that. So I think that's something that needs to be brought out into the open. I really, I suppose, appreciate and respect what you've done with the protesting
Yeah.
and everything. But I suppose with the protesting, we've seen in America, we've seen the videos. I don't know how much of it is, but we do see it through social media, the rioting and the looting and things like that, which is the unfortunate part of this, I guess, because it's hurting people's businesses and things like that. Was any of that happening in the UK, or is that pretty much isolated to America?
I mean, there was a few in London. So London is obviously, so where I'm from, which is like, London's like obviously the city, and then I'm like smaller area downtown from London.
Yeah.
And over in London, because my sister lives over there, there was quite a lot by the end of it. Because the thing is, with having that many people in that kind of one area, it's very difficult to control them. So I can imagine, obviously, like, people are getting frustrated. People are there, obviously, very passionate, very emotional. And then people's emotions get very high. And then for some reason, something starts and then it sets off everything else, which I don't, in my opinion, don't agree with. I don't agree with violence, because violence doesn't solve anything, in my opinion. It's just going to kind of like start more violence and more hate and more separation, which is what we don't want. But where I'm from, we didn't have any violence or riots or looting or anything like that. There was no looting or anything in London. I think it is only in, well, not only, but I think from what I've seen, it's only in the US, the looting and stuff like that. But there was no like violence or anything from the one I did. It was very, very peaceful, and there was a lot of us. There was over 1,000, maybe I want to say like 2,000 of us. Yeah. And yeah, so it was really, really good. But I don't, yeah, like I said, I don't agree with the looting, the rioting, but it's difficult, because I think that is like a deeper rooted cause. There's more to it than what we actually are seeing, because I'm seeing like it from both sides. There's obviously people that are like stopping the riot, say don't do that, and then there's loads of other people apparently saying that the police are causing it or something like that. But I don't know, if I'm honest, because I'm not more educated, and obviously I'm not from the US anyway, so I can't really make a statement on that. But it's difficult because that's all I see on social media. Do you know what I mean? It's like what actually is going on.
Absolutely. And one of my friends as well that we actually record with a show on Desktop Bodybuilding with, and we were actually discussing it, and we're talking about it. We're like, is the rioting and the looting, is that going to get more attention, so it's actually going to help the situation? Is it going to hurt the situation? Like, what's the actual thing? And I suppose people, especially black people and stuff that have protested in the past and things haven't changed, it's a level of frustration where it's like, what do we do now? Do we go to the next level and riot? And I think it's sad, but it has to come to that for change to be implemented, because we're seeing change happening now in the US with certain things in the police force and all that sort of stuff. So it's sad that it takes that to, I suppose, create change. So, yeah. Yeah,
it's a shame that obviously the protests then do turn into the riots, and that maybe the violence with people getting frustrated and stuff, but the protests are doing their job. Like, protests are there because they want to be even more heard than just asking. And I think a lot of people do say, oh, why can't you peacefully protest? And I think a lot of the times they are, but nothing, like, do you know what I mean? Nothing happens. So people are like, we want change, and we're not going to kind of shut up until you give it to us, that type of thing. So I think protests are very effectful. Obviously, they just need to be a bit, like, in terms of being controlled and stuff with like the violence and stuff. But then again, it comes down to a deeper rooted cause, like what actually is starting the violence. Because a lot of the times they are very peaceful, and we don't know. I've seen a lot of them where the police are actually starting the violence with the peaceful protesters, and you just don't know what's going on. Especially a film says 1,000 words, but then you don't know what happens before or after that, and it's difficult because we're not there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, very well said. And you see on social media, you see the very worst and you see the very best. So I've seen posts of police officers like standing up with, black people saying Black Lives Matters, all that sort of stuff. And then I've seen police officers obviously being very aggressive and not doing things the right way. And I've seen people looting, and I'm like, that's probably only a very small portion of what's actually happening. And most of it probably is peaceful protests.
Yeah, and the annoying thing is that that's what the media focus on. So actually the other day, I think, it was on Saturday, that's just gone. There was supposed to be a protest over in London, another one, because there was one the past weekend, but the government said, like, look, we advise you not to go out because it was very big. Like, it was huge last time, the one in London. I think there was over like 5,000 people, which is a lot of people, especially like London town. And no protesters went out, but the people I don't know who it was. I think it was the people that were protecting the statues, the war memorials, all that type of thing, came out to protect. So they were all coming out and being very violent and aggressive. So actually it was nothing to do with the Black Lives Matter protest, but the news said, oh, the Black Lives Matter protest went on anyway. And it wasn't Black Lives Matter. It was actually people trying to protect the statues, obviously, that they didn't want to be defaced or taken down or anything like that. And they actually started, there's so many clips that went viral in London and stuff, that people are just like burning Black Lives Matter signs. Oh, wow. And they're like, and it's got nothing to do with us, yet they're the ones saying that we're the aggressive ones, we're the ones that are causing all the violence and stuff, that people protesting, but it wasn't even, we weren't even out. So, but the media then said, yeah, it was the protesters. So that, I think it's, the media is very, not on our side most of the time, I don't think. It's difficult because I think they want to kind of put scare in us, in other people, so they don't go out or do it type of again. So, which I don't think is right. I think they should obviously kind of put the news on to truth, to what it actually is, but that's the news, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't get clicks as well, like, you know.
No.
So
that's a clickbait, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So as well with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, you know, you see some people coming out and saying, hey, all lives matter, or they're saying hashtag Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, or whatever. Now, I think that the whole Black Lives Matter movement is amazing, and I think some people take it the wrong way. I mean, we're not talking about, you know, white people being abused in custody, which I'm sure happens, but on a lower percentage. But I think some people are getting offended at saying Black Lives Matter. It's like, oh, what about white people that have been abused by cops and stuff? But that's not what it's about. I mean, because we see a lot more of it in the black community, and they're almost targeted in a way. So I think that people get offended. Do you think maybe the Black Lives Matter should have maybe chose like Black Lives Matter 2 or something? Because
it's difficult, because it's like, that's what it stands for. So Black Lives Matter isn't just saying like only Black Lives Matter. It's like Black Lives Matter also. So it's like, I think someone said like a phrase the other day which put it very well. It was like, so obviously the coronavirus is going on right now, and everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of the focus is trying to get a vaccine, trying to focus on curing the coronavirus. Like, that's the main kind of thing. Do you know what I mean, at the moment? But there's other viruses like cancer. There's other illnesses that are going on that obviously need help as well. But most of the focus is on coronavirus, because that's the main cause right now. Yeah. And it's the same with Black Lives Matter. Like, that's a massive issue in the black community, or in the world kind of in general. That police brutality and racism is a thing, still very much in our generation, and we want to kind of solve it and get change, and that's what we want to focus on. It's not like everything else is irrelevant, but it's something that we want to focus on and put our kind of minds to. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people do get annoyed. It's almost like people get annoyed because they don't have a movement. But why would you want to have this type of movement? Do you know what I mean? We don't want to have this type of movement, but it has to come to that because no one's changing. So I think that's what people need to kind of look at, instead of it being like, oh, focus on me, or like, I'm still here. Do you know what I mean? I think it's because people are like, oh, it's not focusing on me. It's kind of like they have to kind of sit down and listen to someone else, their story and what's going on, which sometimes people just don't want to do, if I'm honest. So, but I think it's good that a lot of people, I've even explained it to a lot of people as well, because a lot of people were like, well, don't all lives matter, even like my friends and stuff. And I'm not going to get angry at them and be like, what the hell? But like, I'm going to sit down and explain to them like, oh, okay, I get it now. Because it's very much like a subject that not a lot of people do discuss, like even in family homes and stuff, like with people just kind of not of color, or people of color, they don't talk about it because they don't want it to affect their children and stuff. But it's more getting spoken about now just to make them aware. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm someone who puts my foot in my mouth all the time. So I'm very like doing this interview, even like I've been more nervous about doing this rather than doing an interview with like Jay Cutler, for example, or someone really big.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm someone who, like I said, always puts his foot in his mouth and say the wrong thing. But I'm like, well, I didn't mean that. I meant something else. And this is obviously a sensitive subject as well. So I get a little bit nervous about it. Now, with the whole corona thing, with, you know, the social distancing and everything, now people have said that it's irresponsible to protest because of the spread of it and all that sort of stuff. But this is obviously a big cause. Now, what's your thoughts on that? And were you all at all worried or anything, or were you good?
I mean, if I'm honest, like when the protest went on round kind of my area, they had already said the numbers had gone down, the lowest they have seen since like March time. So it was already a good sign. I mean, it's not great for then all of us to go out in a massive group and kind of protest. I do admit that. But for me, the cause was kind of stronger than maybe the coronavirus, which I know maybe be stupid. And I know that might not seem like smart in some people's eyes. But for me, I wanted to express like, this is also a matter that needs to kind of be resolved and needs change behind it. So for me, I was willing to kind of go and do that. I went with masks and I went with gloves. And I mean, I went with my partner and stuff, and we weren't like near everyone. I will be honest, like we weren't like close to everyone like at all times, but there were moments where we were kind of all like a little bit huddled up. If I'm honest, that protest was about 2 weeks ago now, and they haven't said anything about the numbers being up or anything like that. And it's the same with London. They haven't said anything about the numbers being up, and that was 2 weeks ago. And they said that the numbers probably would be either going up or be released or something like that in 2 weeks, because obviously that's how, I think it's 2 weeks you get.
That's a sort of transit time, I guess.
Yeah, until you can kind of see like who's actually caught it or whatnot. But there's been no, I'm actually quite surprised, to be fair, because there's been nothing on the news about coronavirus in terms of like it going up, or like, there's been people like, oh, I hope it doesn't go up, and then that's it. It's not like, which was quite interesting to see that, because that's all the news was about. It was coronavirus, the numbers, how we're doing, updates, all that type of thing. And now it's very, very quiet. Yeah. So, which is interesting, but obviously I don't know much about that.
Yeah, for sure. And numbers have definitely sort of, seems like they've, at least the media attention has calmed down on the whole coronavirus thing, whether people are getting burnt out and they don't want to view it anymore. I mean, I know when it first started in Australia, like America, and then obviously it came to Australia, and I was watching every little update on Facebook from like the Premier and the Prime Minister and stuff of Australia, and I was really into it and like, oh my God. And now I'm like, oh my God, I just don't even want to see it.
Yeah, you're kind of just like, I'm so done with this now. Yeah. Like it's not like you don't care, but it's just kind of like, because this is like our new normal, like not new normal, but like, because we've literally been in quarantine for like, well, for the UK, we've been in quarantine for 3 months. We're actually still in quarantine as well. And I know America's like slightly opened up shops and like gyms and that type of thing now, but we haven't opened anything up. I think we're going to open things up hopefully in like the 4th of July, apparently, for like gyms and stuff. So fingers crossed for that. But no, I think, yeah, a lot of people have kind of spiked up and said, oh, what about coronavirus, that type of thing. But I think for me anyway, the cause is stronger than what kind of is going on at the moment. So for me, the numbers were down. I was like, I'm going to go and protest. And that's my own risk. I know and it's silly sometimes, but that was something that I really wanted to do and kind of like make sure that I was heard.
Absolutely, and we're lucky here. We've got very few cases in Western Australia, which is where I'm from, and throughout all of Australia, we're one of the countries that is much lower. I thought it was going to go the way of the US and some of these other countries, but it really sort of picked up and then just stopped, and then it's sort of gone right down, which is great for us. And we've just opened up gyms and things like that, which is awesome. So yeah, we're super fortunate here. But let's talk a little bit about yourself now. You're an IFBB Bikini Pro. You've competed a lot of times, a lot more than I even thought, because I only recently became aware of you. So I only did that quick little, search through people's Instagram and just sort of get an idea. Now you put up a post saying that you got your pro card and competed as a pro the same day, I think it was, or the next day, which is an incredible experience. I mean, just winning your pro card alone would be like, oh, it's a dream come true. And then competing as a pro. How was that day and how surreal was it?
It was actually kind of a nightmare, because it kind of got messed up slightly because there were so many competitors. But what actually happened, so I was supposed to be, so all the amateurs were on the Saturday, and they were supposed to kind of be announcing who won their pro cards, that type of thing, on that Saturday. And then if you wanted to compete as a pro, you could on the following Sunday, because there was the pro show the next day. But because they didn't realize how many amateurs there were going to be, they overran a lot. And they said, okay, we're going to have to bring you back for Sunday and do awards on the Sunday. Wow. And they brought us all back on the Sunday. And I was in I was in 2 classes. So I was in my open class and I was in my junior class. So at the time, and I won my junior class, I won my open, and then did overall. And then an hour later did the pro show the literally an hour later. So it
Wow.
was like all in the space of like, I think, I want to say 5 hours. It was probably like one of the most hectic. I'd gone on stage like 4 different times. It was one of the most hectic days, but one of the most like incredible days of my life. Like it was amazing. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was a nightmare of a day, but also the best day ever.
Yeah. Now you said you were a junior at the time. So how old are you, or how old were you then?
So I was 23. So that was like, I think the cutoff point for a junior is like 23 until I want to say October. And then, so I'm 25 now.
Yeah, cool. That was the most polite way I could ask what your age is without directly asking.
I was thinking that, how old are you?
Yeah, yeah. But that's awesome. That's awesome that you achieved that and was able to compete as a pro. And like I was saying before, we actually did this interview. We had that in Australia before it was the Arnold Classic Australia, because obviously now the Arnold Classic Australia, you need to apply and get your application accepted and all that sort of stuff. So it sort of changed, I think, after the first year of the Arnold Classic Australia. But I think it's a great initiative, and it's something that we should include more around the world, because I would love to see more people getting their pro card and then seeing how they match up against the pros. But you've competed 15 times as a pro. In 2018, 2019, you were super, super close. So explain to us how close you were to competing in the Olympia those years and what you're going to do in the future, I guess.
So yeah, it was very, very close. So obviously got my pro card in 2018, and that was mid-June time. So, and then obviously the way it works, obviously, and you'll know anyway, but like the way it works is obviously to get a qualification for the Olympia, you have to be top, well, for at the time, it was top 20 on the points list. So obviously you have to get points and you have to just be in that top 10, top 20 section. It doesn't matter how many points it is. It just has to be in that top 20 with all the other girls. And then I think it was top 5, I want to say at the time, top 5 of Olympia were already automatically qualified. And then 20 below that, whoever gets it, you get an invite to the Olympia. I want to say it was the beginning of August. The beginning of August was the cutoff point. So I got my pro card in June, which is quite late anyway. And I was like, let's try go for the Olympia. So obviously I did my first pro show, which was literally the same day. And I got second, which was really, really good.
That's incredible.
And then went on to do a few more shows, got second, and then I think I got 3 seconds in a row. And then got 24th on the points list, which is amazing for my first try. So I'm really, really happy with that. And that was in 2018. And then 2019, I got 22nd and was actually, I think, 2 points away from the cutoff point, from getting in that top 20. So it's very, very close. It's very tedious. I think it's the same with men's physique. And I think at the time it was classic, I want to say as well. But it's very tedious because obviously the point system is very like hard because you just have to keep going, and there could be some one girl or one guy that literally gets second place and overrides you by like 3 spots, and it's like, how did that just happen? Because it's so like, it'll be like, say like 1 point, 2 point, 3 points. It's literally by the point. Like everyone has like barely any points like in between. So it's very, very tedious. But they've now changed the point system, the system again. So it's now gone back to. If you win your pro show, you in, which is what the old system. So I think that's really good because it gives a bit more opportunity to a lot more people. So I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you know you're actually in. You don't have to be like, am I going to be in, or do I have to do more shows? You know?
Yeah, that's what I was like the whole time. I was like, I don't know if I'm actually going to get it. And it's that puts a lot of pressure from you for each show as well, because you're going in there like, I need to get this amount of points. If I don't, then I'm kind of like not going to get it. Do you know what I mean? And it's very like stressful knowing that before a show. So, but I like that. Yeah, like I said, I like it that they've kind of gone back to it, because I did win a pro show last year, my first ever pro show last year. So that was amazing. And I think I can do that again for 2020 and get an invite for December, because they've obviously changed it to December time, haven't they?
Yeah. Is it surreal for you that you've came, I suppose, top 25 in the world both years, really, and you're the top 25, I suppose, bikini girl in the world? Like, is that surreal for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It is quite cool, like looking at it like that. Like I was very, very close, and that type of thing. It's really nice to see that, and kind of know that I've worked that hard to kind of get there. Because obviously, as amateur, when you're an amateur, obviously going for your pro card, you never expect to get this high. Obviously, you dream it and you want to get like as high as you are, and then it happens and you're like, wow, this is amazing. So, and the opportunities that come behind it as well are amazing as well.
Yeah, that's so good. Anyway, Phoebe, I want to thank you so much for coming on Desktop Bodybuilding. Do you want to thank anyone? Do you want to shout out to any sponsors or anything like that?
No, I just want to say thank you to everyone kind of listening and stuff and taking the time to kind of listen to obviously my cause, why I'm here, all that type of thing. The main reason for the podcast, all that type of thing. So thank you so much just for anyone that listens.
No, I appreciate having you on, and I appreciate everything you've done for the Black Lives Matter movement and all that sort of stuff. So thank you so much. That's Phoebe Hagan, IFBB Bikini Pro, and I hope we see her on the Olympia stage in 2020. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Phoebe Hagan, IFBB Bikini Pro. And if you want to follow her, link is in the description for her Instagram. Also, if you guys want to support the channel, please head to hostile.com, HOSSTILE.com. Enter the code ZAVE10. You'll save yourself 10% off all your orders. You got a ton of really, really nice apparel on there. As you can see what I'm wearing now, the blacked out cap, all that good stuff. And yeah, you can click the link in my description as well. That's also will take you there too. But anyway, that's it for another video. If you like the content, thumbs up, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. We've got heaps more interviews like this coming up as well. Anyway, that's it for another video. For Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding, we are out.